How's it going, folks? So today I'm going to be talking about the brand new upcoming album from the band Etwas. The name of this album is Rites of the Damned, Chapter 2, and it drops May 16th, which I believe is Thursday, May 16th. But y'all know it by now. Before I get into that nitty gritty, let's check out the cover. So, boom, there it is. Take a look at that cover right there. Super, super cool. It definitely gives you the impression of what the album is like. It definitely has some real dark kind of black metal vibes. But it's symphonic metal with black metal influence, but it definitely gives you that dark gothic occult like vibe, which is heavily featured in the album. But I love the way the band name Etwas is styled up there, and then, the album title there at the bottom, and just the cover itself. Really, really cool looking cover. You got this figure, this skull-like figure dressed in robes, kind of standing there in the middle, and it looks like all these followers or whatnot just all around him. There's flames everywhere, and then in the back you see this really cool, like, castle, this gothic looking castle with these towers on the sides that all look like they're on fire as well. And then the clouds up in the top, and they're kind of parting, and right in the middle's the moon kind of shining down. Looks like this is the prime time for some sort of occult shenanigans to take place. So I just really, really like it. The colors, the way the flames look, and these figures, these dark figures, and just the clouds up there. Just really, really well done cover. So I dig it. It's just really cool to look at, and it's ominous looking and really evokes the feelings that's found in the music within. Now, so as far as the cover aesthetically, killer. Now, if you're at the record shop, you never heard of this band before, you're flipping through, I definitely think this cover would catch your eye, would draw your attention. But if you never heard of the band before, would this cover give you the proper indication of what the album sounds like? I think so. I mean, like I said before, it may give you more of just a pure kind of dark black metal kind of vibe, or even maybe melodic death metal. But if you really look at it, I think it definitely gives more of that the black metal vibe. Now, would you gather that it's a symphonic black metal? I'm not sure, but how do you even convey that? So at the end of the day, I think if you saw this cover, I think it would give you indication enough to where if you're looking for, I don't know, just pure symphonic metal or power metal or something, you would know this is not it. But you would, if you thought it was like black metal or something along that vein, and you bought it, you would not be disappointed, because there was heavy, heavy black metal elements involved, and then with the symphonic metal at its core. But the two are very, very much intertwined, so you would not be disappointed. I think it conveys well enough what it is that you would not be shocked by what you find when you got home and then popped it in the record player. So the cover does a great job on both fronts. So yeah, really, really dig it. Now for the album itself, this bad boy's got 10 tracks on here. It comes in at about 42 minutes, and it does not waste a minute. One thing that I find that is cool about this album is it feels like it's all one complete work. It's difficult to kind of extract a single song out of it and listen to it separately, because it's all just one organic piece. Each track really just kind of blends into the next, and I don't mean that in a bad way, as if like, oh, it just feels like it's the same song over and over again. That's not the case. There's a lot of nuance, a lot of things within each track that really enriches the individual sound of each track. But at the same token, it's all part of this complete organic work. That's the best way I can describe it. It all contributes to the complete piece, and it all works together. It's like a 42-minute epic, or song, if you will, that it just It's hard to explain, I guess, but it's just a complete piece, and each song is just a cog in the big machine, and isn't like you're listening to, okay, this is this track, and then here's this track that's different. It all just works together very, very well to form the whole. So really cool the way that works. And it starts out with track one, Rites of the Damned, which is very much kind of an intro song. It's like a minute and a half or something like that, with some spoken word and some atmospheric, vibes musically and all that good stuff. And then as soon as it rolls into track two, the Masque of the Red Death, I mean, this thing just gets going, and it just doesn't let up all the way through to the end. It's very powerful album, and with the sound. And like I said, it just does not let up from there. There's not like a kind of soft ballad in here or anything like that. Even the final track feels very much in line with the rest of the album, where it is just powerful. It's kind of in your face, but also not. And that's one thing that I want to talk about as well, is these songs, they're very heavy. There's a lot happening. There's very much symphonic elements, creating the atmosphere. The guitars are heavy. They're chugging along throughout this album. There's a very heavy, dark tone to the guitar sounds and the symphonic elements, and the drums are very heavy. You get a lot of blast beats going, things like that. But at the same token, it's very heavily atmospheric at the same time. So it really rides that line between being just really blasting you in your face and also just being more like melancholic and atmospheric. It kind of combines the two. So it's very easy to listen to, while it also is kind of in your face, but not. It's really cool the way that it is, because the way that it kind of rides the line between those two feelings, it really engrosses you. You get really enveloped into the world of this album and its sounds, but without feeling like it's just punching you in the face repeatedly, So you get the best of both worlds. It's very heavy, but it's also very atmospheric. So you just get enveloped in, and you feel like you're part of like the rituals going on, the occult ceremonies and all of that, without you getting fatigued. I guess that's the best way I can put it. So, I mean, I listened to this album multiple times. It kind of ended and restarted, and I just found myself just very much absorbed in the sound, and it just kind of kept rolling and rolling and starting over again and going all the way through to the end. And that's one thing that's really cool about it. And one thing that also, like I said, each song, it feels like a complete work, as opposed to kind of individual songs. That I feel like they could have just dropped this as one track, one 42-minute long track, and it would just work really well. But each song also has its own personality that contributes to the greater whole. Anyway, it's difficult to explain, but it's just very well constructed. I love the structure of the album. I love the individual works, and I love the greater whole. So it just sounds really, really nice, and has a very organic structure to it that you could just keep listening to it and just be absorbed in this world. So yeah, the guitar work is really well done. Like I said, very heavy tones to the guitars, some really nice riffs, some really nice just heavy driven kind of riffs, and then some nice melodic riffs in there as well. You get some little solos in there, and just some great melodies, and the guitar just really creates this heavy tone, this heavy sound for the album, and it works very well. And then you have the symphonic elements, which really creates the atmosphere of the album, where the guitars is kind of like the grounded element. The symphonic elements are really like the grand atmospheric elements that really provide a lot of the mood to the songs and the album. And the symphonic elements are just done so well. I mean, they just sound so deep and rich with depth, and it really conjures so many images in the mind, and really provides that nice, like, otherworldly sort of sound. Whereas the guitar is kind of like the dark, driven, heavy elements to it. The symphonic elements really provides the atmospheric, ominous, deep, almost sometimes reflective, but also otherworldly and extravagant elements. And so the two together just create such a neat sound. And that's one thing that this band, I feel like, does better than most, is really, really creating an atmosphere. I mean, you just get lost in it. I've already said, how it makes you feel and all that stuff, but you just get so lost in it, and it's so absorbing, and it's so rich and full of depth. They just really conjure a feeling and a mood, unlike many, many other bands. They're just really masters at doing that. So it's very, very impressive. And then the vocals, really killer vocals. I mean, the range, she's got such a great range when she's doing the more symphonic style vocals. And then the growls, the harsh vocals also are just done super, super well and super authentic, that it really contributes to this dark, occult, gothic mood and feeling like you're part of these dark ceremonies and things like that. And then the symphonic, more style vocals when she gets into a higher range and all that. It just really, like I said, it just contributes to the atmosphere and the mood. So just super well done. And then you also get like a lot of spoken word elements throughout the album, which also just enriches the experience and really pulls you in and lends authenticity to the feeling and the moods that they're going for here. So I really can't overstate how good they are at crafting that with everything. All the musicianship and the vocals just work together beautifully. And this feels like the natural evolution of the band from off of their first album, to this one. They're just really growing, and they're honing in on their sound. Now, one thing I will say, and this is purely personal preference, there's a lot more harsh vocals in this album than there were on the first. So they're really kind of blurring that line even more between black metal and symphonic metal. Like, whereas before I would say it's symphonic metal with black metal influences, this is creeping ever so closer to just being pure symphonic black metal. So personally, I would have liked a little bit less of the growls, just because I liked that place that they established where they're that symphonic metal with black metal influences. It really kind of set them apart from being, from the other bands in the symphonic metal genre and symphonic black metal genre. They really carved out a niche. But here they're creeping closer to just being purely a symphonic black metal sound. So it's kind of graying the lines ever more here. And so a little bit less on the harsh vocals, I think, would keep them, a little bit further away from that classification. But here they're really riding that line. But still, at the end of the day, it sounds really great. And like I said, the harsh vocals are just really, really good. But yeah, one song that really stands out to me, and there's some really great moments in here where, like I said before, there's a lot of grandeur here. There's, a lot of bombast, and then there's the more dark, heavy, grounded moments and stuff. But like, for example, as far as like these really well-placed and nuanced moments that really add to almost a cinematic kind of feel to it, is in track 4, Seance of Shadows, where, first of all, you get growls, you get great melodic symphonic metal moments, and you get spoken word moments. So this song really captures almost every element that's contained within the album here in one song. But then there's this really, really cool moment about 3/4 the way through where it's going, and you get the great atmosphere and all that stuff, and it's kind of building up, and then I believe it's like kind of spoken word, and then you hear her go like she's blowing out a candle or something, and it's appropriate because this is called Seance of Shadows, so you kind of have this moment that feels like it's a seance or something, and then she goes like she blows out a candle, and then the symphonic elements come in and the guitar, and it just feels so grand and so epic, and it's just such a great moment that it's just so cool. And there's moments like that throughout where there's so much care put into the structure of the songs, and also creating, that feel like that you're there, in this occult scenario. And it's just so neat, so neat and creative how they do that. So super well done on that kind of thing. And then, like, speaking of the songs kind of standing out from one another, there's little things that designate, each individual song, even though it all feels like a nicely woven tapestry or what have you, all the way through the album. But I believe it's track 7, Spectral Dominion, where there's this real cool moment where it almost feels like a harpsichord kind of doing this neat melody in there, and it just really stands out. It's really cool. There's a lot of just care put into each individual element throughout this entire album. So I was very, very impressed. The band has delivered a really, really solid album here yet again, and it's just crafted so masterfully. It's just impressive. Very, very impressive. Now, y'all ask if there's one song to check out. If you're like, well, tell me one song to listen to decide if I want to listen to the whole album or whatnot. I do think the band did a wonderful job choosing the single, which is track 8, Bloodmoon Invocation. I really think that's a great song to determine if you want to hear the whole album or not. It contains a lot of the elements that's throughout the album, and it's one of the more accessible songs, but not to the point where you'll be surprised by the whole album. So I really, really think it's a great song choice for the single that they released. That is a good stepping stone to determine, to really showcase their sound, but also for the listener to determine if it's something for them. So I would highly recommend that song. Like I said, I think the band did a great job selecting their single. And it's a great song to determine if it's something that you want to hear. If you love that song, you'll love the album. If you're iffy on the song, you still may want to jump into the album. But if you don't like that song, I don't think you're going to find anything you like on the album. So it's a great song to decide if you want to hear the whole album or not. And it's one of my favorite songs on the album as it stands anyway. So it's just a killer song. But so yeah, those are my thoughts on the album. I was not disappointed. I really, really enjoyed it, and it shines even brighter the more that you listen to it. You really pick up on some of the more nuance, because it really wasn't until like the third listen that I picked up on that candle moment in Seance of Shadows and things like that. So you get more out of it the more that you listen to it. So yeah, anywho, that's Etwas with their new upcoming album, Rites of the Damned, Chapter 2. And this bad boy drops Thursday, May 16th. So, yeah, check it out. Let me know, folks, in the comments down below if you're looking forward to this album. Let me know if you listened to their first album, Inaki and Keys. Let me know if you listened to their single, Bloodmoon Invocation. And once you listen to the album, let me know what you thought of it. That'd be great. Let's talk about it all in the comments below. And I'll catch you all next time. Ranger out.